Well, this is the latest addition to the local Toyota Hilux fleet. It's the all-new Rogue, so it's the new flagship of Hilux range in Australia, and it's got a number of different enhancements to the suspension, to the brakes, and of course to a lot of body enhancements too. So let's have a quick look around it. You can see it. It's very aggressive from the front. I get down low and this will point out the difference. This has got the new wide track suspension. It's about 140 millimeters difference or greater width between the wheels front and back. So it's got a nice big wide stance on it, gives it a very tough look. And it's also about 20 millimeters higher too. So that'll improve its approach and departure angles off-road, no doubt. And to go with this wider track, it's got these big pumped out guards, as you can see here. Very sort of Ford Raptor inspired, this vehicle. It certainly looks very much along that style of vehicle. Our unique 18-inch alloy wheels as well. And let's have a look inside. Quick look inside. This is the top shelf now for Hilux, and you can see leather appointed seats or power operation there. They're also heated. Very nice, well appointed dashboard layout, and lots of instrumentation, driver's own display here, big touch screen in the center, and a really high quality JBL 9-speaker sound system, 2 of which you can see located here at the top of the dashboard. So yeah, some very nice interior appointments and beautifully finished, high standard of finish as you'd expect from a Toyota. Have a quick look in the back. Now, the difference with the Hilux I've always found is it's quite cozy, I would say, inside. And sitting here, I can just feel my head just touching the top of the roof lining. So it is pretty tight in the back seat. But it's, you know, finished to a nice high standard, and as you can see, air conditioning vents here for rear passengers, storage pouches in the back of the seats. I have the driver's seat in my position, so it's a fair way back, given I'm about 1.8 meters tall. There's just enough room here for your knees, but it is, yeah, it is a little bit tight in the back seat in the Hilux, and it always has been. Really nice detailing on the back here. This really nice resin sports bar, or sail plane as some people call it, and 4-wheel disc brakes. Look at this, rear disc brakes. And not only that, under the tail there is a stabilizer bar, or an anti-roll bar. And that's the first time one's been fitted to a Hilux, so they're really chasing improvements in handling, particularly in on-road conditions. Very nicely detailed at the back. You can see the nice Rogue plate there. Pull down the tailgate, and it's also got this motorized roller cover for the back. So as that rolls forward, it exposes the load tub, which as you can see is covered in marine carpet. So that means if it gets wet, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to get rotten and stinky. It's sort of made for wet weather. However, and there's also nice LED lighting there if you're loading at night. The only problem is it's got the load anchorage points here at the back, but because of the big drum and the big motor that's needed for that roller top at the front, there's no front anchorage points to secure your load. So if you want to use this in that true sort of dual, you know, workhorse during the week and, you know, weekend escape machine, the workhorse part of it is a bit restricted by this, because you don't have any front anchorage points if you want to put some really heavy payloads in there. So that sort of reduces its practicality a bit if you need a ute to serve in those 2 roles of workhorse and weekend fun machine. So that's how it looks. Tow bar on the back as well, nice big step. Still tows 3.5 tons of trailer, of course, which is good. And you can just see some nice detailing all over. It's a very different looking Hilux, certainly the toughest looking Hilux to come from Toyota, and that's largely a result of this much wider wheel track front and rear. Pretty big increase too, 140 millimeters wider than than the standard Hilux. So that's quite an increase in stance width. Makes it look really tough. Okay, so that's what it looks like on the outside. Let's take it for a spin. Okay, hitting the road in the new wide track Rogue, I guess you could call it. This is powered by an engine that's very familiar to Hilux owners, the 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, which has a healthy 150 kilowatts of power and 500 Newton meters of torque. That used to be quite a benchmark figure until Ford recently upped the ante with the new Ranger V6, which is the new torque king with 600 Newton meters. But even so, 500 Newton meters of torque is ample for a vehicle in this weight division. And that's connected to a 6-speed torque converter automatic, very smooth shifting 6-speeder with the option of sequential manual shifting if you need it, which is handy when you're towing, particularly in hilly country, to stop the gearbox hunting for gears. And that's connected to the usual part-time dual range 4-wheel drive system. And there's also a locking rear diff, which is controlled by a button on the dashboard if you need that. So the Hilux is pretty well armed for serious off-road duty. But it's interesting, these suspension changes they've made. The much wider track certainly makes it feel more planted, more sure-footed on the road. There's no doubt about that, which is the same result we've seen in other vehicles that have increased their track width. It really does improve the overall stability and response. And the rear stabilizer bar, the first time there's been one of those fitted to a Hilux, that certainly improves the steering feel through corners. It reduces the body roll and makes the car more responsive to steering input, so that's a nice change. And also 4-wheel disc brakes, well, that just improves the braking performance. So you put all those things together and it's quite an enhanced feel in terms of overall handling and ride and stopping performance. It doesn't have the, just going over these bumps here, it's quite plush. It doesn't have the same sort of air cushioned ride as the Raptor, but it's reasonably close to it. And it's just added a level of discipline to the suspension, which is quite impressive. Haven't driven it off-road, but certainly on-road, looking at the way they've specified the suspension, it's certainly makes it very satisfying to drive. So the verdict, well, to me this is like Toyota's version of the Nissan Navara Pro 4X Warrior, because they've both got enhanced wide track suspension and they've both got enhanced body features to go with it, and they're both about $70,000. The difference though with the Rogue is that carpet lined load tub, because given that surface treatment and also the fact that you can't access, or there aren't any load anchorage points at the front of the load tub, certainly reduces ute practicality compared to the Warrior. Because what it does in this instance is make it less a ute and more like a high riding all-wheel drive sedan with a really large boot. And for some people, that might be just what they're looking for. They want a premium Toyota Ute. They want the top of the tree, which is the Rogue, and they don't have heavy load carrying requirements. Then that sort of specification, a very luxurious Hilux with a large boot, might be just what they're looking for. And that decision is up to the buyer. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe, and we always